Every month, I had to deal with dozens of his wild flings for Marcus. Some were paid off, others were punched out. Each time, he'd give me a limited edition designer bag as a thank you. This time, he got entangled with a young college student. Alex said she was stubborn, refusing to cooperate, and boldly demanded to see me. Sister, you've held on to him for so many years and can't even give him a child. Isn't it time you stepped aside? Mr. Marcus told me he wants me to have enough kids to form a soccer team. I wonder if this villa is even big enough for them. She was young, after all. The undisguised delight and envy in her eyes as she looked around were unmistakable. My people were just about to make a move when Marcus rushed back. His first glance went straight to his innocent new flame. Khloe, stop this nonsense. Didn't I tell you I'd get you an even bigger villa once you turn 20? The wet behind the ears girl instantly beamed with triumph. I like this one. Make her move out. Marcus sighed, then looked at me helplessly. Wife, why don't you just let her have her way this time? I gave in. Then I turned around and sent bulldozers to level the villa. Marcus stood before me with Khloe, his face a mix of helplessness and irritation. Grace, Khloe is still young. Why are you taking this so seriously? If she likes this villa, just give it to her. We have so many properties, why fight her over this one? Khloe, shedding her earlier arrogant and triumphant demeanor, stood timidly beside Marcus. Marcus, look at Ms. Grace. She scares me. I cast a cool glance at her. Sister? Who do you think you are? Khloe lightly bit her lower lip, tears welling up in her eyes, threatening to fall. Marcus's comforting gaze rested on her face. Don't be afraid, I'm here. The next second, Marcus called for his secretary and had Khloe escorted away. His gentle gaze followed Khloe as she left. It wasn't until Khloe was completely out of our sight that Marcus finally averted his gaze. Grace, she won't affect our relationship, nor will she impact your standing. Don't worry, I promised I would never let you down, and I will keep that promise. From's words, I understood a different meaning. Are you saying you want to keep her outside and make her your mistress? Marcus, after all these years, don't you know me at all? Marcus walked up to me and placed his hands on my shoulders. The last time in Capital City, if it weren't for Khloe, I wouldn't have come back alive. Grace, trust me, no one holds more weight in my heart than you. The position of Mrs. Marcus will always be yours. It's just, Grace, I can't abandon her. As he spoke that last sentence, Marcus's voice was incredibly gentle. It was so gentle that my eyes welled up, and tears almost spilled over. I looked up at the man standing before me. Whenever his name came up, his usually cold eyes and somewhat sharp voice would unconsciously soften. After knowing him for 20 years, how could I not understand Marcus? I knew he was falling in love. When we were 6, we were the 2 most bullied children in the orphanage. Because of the other kids' ostracism, we often went hungry. One night, Marcus was cold and hungry, locked out of the bedroom by the other children. Tiny as he was, he sat by the wall with his knees hugged to his chest, tears silently welling in his eyes, but he fiercely held them back. I walked over to him, pulled out a steamed bun I'd secretly kept from dinner, and offered it to him. I couldn't finish it tonight. You can have it. From that day on, 2 helpless children in this world became each other's sole support. When we were 12, the middle-aged chef at the orphanage broke into my room in the middle of the night. That night, young Marcus brutally stabbed the chef 28 times, then took me and fled that nightmarish orphanage. That escape led to 15 years on the run. On a winter's midnight by the roadside, Marcus held my hand as we ran along the highway, but I couldn't see the road's end. Nor could I see the direction of our future. The young boy's voice was tender yet firm. Grace, with me here, no one will ever bully you. I, Marcus, will protect only Grace, for this life and all eternity. In the past 2 years, Marcus's career had flourished, and the number of women around him grew steadily. I never took those women seriously. After all, our 20-plus years together were irreplaceable. But now, Marcus was falling in love. It turned out that for this life and all eternity only lasted 20 years. My gaze fell on the villa's main entrance. Marcus, let's get a divorce. Hearing my words, Marcus dropped his hand from my shoulder. Grace, I don't want to hear that again. As long as I live, I will never let you go. Marcus didn't spare me another glance, leaving directly in Khloe's direction. Marcus didn't return until early the next morning. Alex stood beside me, carefully recounting what had happened to Marcus in Capital City last time. Now, Marcus held absolute power in Riverton, dominating the business world. But in the beginning, to ensure I had enough to eat, he entered underground boxing rings at just 14 years old. With his fists and his fearless spirit, Marcus gradually became the youngest rising star in the underworld. Even after he successfully went legitimate, his past enemies were always searching for him. During his last business trip to Capital City, his enemies found their opportunity. Just as a bullet was about to pierce Marcus's chest, Khloe, then an intern, bravely jumped forward, taking the fatal bullet for Marcus. No wonder. Yesterday, Marcus said that if it weren't for Khloe, he wouldn't have made it back alive from Capital City. I took a delicate sip of the tea in my cup. Have someone bring her here. Alex's face immediately showed a hint of difficulty. Ms. Grace. Mr. Marcus gave specific instructions. Ms. Khloe is naturally timid and doesn't like me. Ting strangers. No one is to disturb her. That last sentence was clearly directed at me. My fingers tightened around the teacup. A moment later, I set the teacup down. I said, bring her here. In less than half an hour, Khloe stood before me. Khloe had shed her timid facade from yesterday, greeting me with a faint smile. I already told Martha when I left. If anything happens to me here, Mr. Marcus will know immediately. I didn't look up, instead focusing on scraping the film of tea foam from the surface of my tea with the lid. Seeing my silence, Khloe showed no trace of annoyance. In fact, there was a hint of triumph in her eyes. It seems Ms. Grace is quite bothered by my presence, isn't she? But Marcus has such a vast empire, how could he not need an heir? And, Grace, you're clinging to the position of Mrs. Marcus, yet you can't even produce a single child. I set the cup lid down and glanced at Alex, who stood beside me. Shut her up. The words had barely left my lips. Alex stepped forward and delivered a hard kick to Khloe's knee. Khloe cried out in pain, her knees buckling as she collapsed before me. Alex's hand swung high, and a heavy slap landed, instantly leaving Khloe's pale face red and swollen. Khloe was furious. You dare lay a hand on me while Mr. Marcus isn't here? Do you think he'll let you get away with this? I scoffed. Not only did you utter such brazen words first, but I am Marcus's legitimate wife. Do you think I can't touch a shameless mistress? At this, I calmly picked up my teacup and spoke softly. Continue. Slaps rained down, and soon, threads of blood trickled from Khloe's lips. Khloe struggled desperately. If it weren't for me, Marcus would be dead by now, and you'd just be a widow. And I'm carrying his child. If anything happens to my baby, he'll never forgive you. My heart jolted, and an overwhelming wave of pain instantly washed over me. I fiercely suppressed the pain in my heart, my gaze cold as I looked at Khloe. Kneeling before me. If you have the guts to make him divorce me, at least your son might have a legitimate name. But if I don't agree, the one in your belly will only ever be a bastard. The moment my words fell, a flurry of footsteps sounded from outside the door. Mr. Marcus, it was the madam who had Ms. Khloe brought here. I really couldn't stop it. No sooner had that voice faded than Marcus burst in with dozens of bodyguards. His bodyguards swiftly moved forward, one of them kicking Alex aside. Khloe immediately collapsed weakly into Marcus's arms. Seeing swollen face and bleeding lips, Marcus's eyes were filled with savage fury as he looked at me. Grace, she just clearly told you she's pregnant. How could you hit her so hard? Marcus didn't look at me again. He scooped Khloe up in his arms and made to leave. Dozens of bodyguards had their hands resting on their waists, where their guns were holstered. Just as he was about to step out the door, Marcus stopped. She saved my life. Even if it's for my sake, you shouldn't treat her like this. Watching's retreating back, seeing how he protected Khloe, I spoke with a hoarse voice. Marcus, I'm saying this one last time, we're getting a divorce. He stood there for a long time, then finally left without a word, carrying Khloe straight out. Long after Marcus left, my hand still lightly rested on the teacup, not moving an inch. Alex's voice echoed in my ears. Madam. I looked up at Alex and forced out a reassuring smile. My thoughts drifted back to when Marcus was 14. That year, Marcus had just entered the underground boxing scene, fighting grown men all day long. I worried so much I couldn't sleep all night. Later, he entered the underworld, risking his life for so-called bosses. Once, he was severely wounded, almost dying. From then on, I disguised myself as a man and, despite his objections, joined the organization with him. After that, I completed every organizational mission with him. Together, we FO'd our footing in that cutthroat world. We endured countless life or death moments together. But now, Khloe was the one credited with saving his life. And I had become the wicked woman in his eyes. He once stood beside his opponent's corpse, holstering his gun. Grace. The gun in my hand will always be there to protect you. Yet just moments ago, his subordinates were ready to draw their guns on me. And he said nothing, his eyes fixed only on Khloe. From that day on, Marcus never returned home, and I couldn't find any trace of Khloe. Marcus had protected her exceptionally well. All I knew was that Marcus had taken her to a villa in the suburbs. I knew nothing else. The next day, as I routinely rose early to pay respects at her memorial, I found my mother's memorial tablet had been disturbed. My heart lurched violently, and I quickly checked the small wooden keepsake box behind the tablet. Sure enough, the small wooden keepsake box was empty. A deep-sea pearl that had been inside was gone. Seeing the spot where the pearl once lay completely empty, tears streamed down my face. With a trembling voice, I called for Alex. Who entered my mother's shrine today? Alex didn't understand everything, but my ashen face startled him. It was Mr. Marcus. He came back today. I thought he was here to pay respects at her memorial. Before could finish, my knees gave way, and I collapsed to the ground. This pearl was the only memento my mother left me. I heard it was passed down to her by my grandmother. She told me this pearl was incredibly rare. She said that if I ever sold this pearl, I could live well, even without her. Yet, even during my hardest times, when I went hungry for 3 days and 3 nights because there was no food, I never once considered touching that pearl. Even after being sent to the orphanage, I always kept this pearl with me. But now, the pearl was gone. At that thought, I abruptly stood up, rushed into the study, and retrieved the handgun from the bottom drawer of the desk, a gun I hadn't touched in years. Gritting my teeth, I spoke each word slowly, my voice so chilling it even frightened myself. Call all my people. I'm going to the suburbs. It was an hour later when I arrived at the suburban villa. Just as I was about to kick the door open, I heard Khloe and Martha talking inside. That Marcus is really brutal. Just look at your swollen face. But Marcus truly cares for you, Miss Khloe. Using such fine bespoke facial cream on your face, I guarantee your complexion will be perfectly smooth in less than 3 days. Khloe's voice held a hint of triumph. This is bespoke facial cream made from the world's finest pearls, you know. I hear it was Ms. Grace's mother's last memento to her. Heh, I can't wait to see Ms. Grace's reaction when she finds out about this. I couldn't listen anymore. Gripping my handgun, I shot open the door lock. The two inside jumped in fright, their face-applying movements freezing midair. Bodyguards swiftly stormed in, encircling the two women. I strode to the table. There, the original pearl was long gone, replaced by a dazzling box of bespoke facial cream. My eyes burned with fury, and I raised my gun, ready to end Khloe's life. Stop! Marcus's loud shout echoed. The next second, Marcus rushed into the room like a whirlwind, pulling Khloe into his embrace protectively. Grace! What are you doing? Hearing his accusation, I could no longer suppress the rage in my heart. I pointed at the bespoke facial cream on the table and questioned him loudly. Marcus, you knew perfectly well what that pearl meant to me. It was the only memento my mother left me. How dare you? How could you? A flicker of reluctance crossed Marcus's eyes. But then, Khloe's choked sobs broke the silence. Marcus, please, just let me go. I don't want anything anymore. I just want my baby to be safe. After hearing Khloe's words, the reluctance in Marcus's eyes was instantly replaced by impatience. The person is dead. What's the point of holding on to these material possessions? You're the one who disfigured Khloe's face like this. You should take responsibility for it. I couldn't hold back anymore. I tilted my head back and burst into laughter, but tears streamed from my eyes. I slowly lowered my head, staring directly at the two people before me. I'll take responsibility for her face, and you two can take responsibility for my mother then. Take in the child in her belly, and you three can reunite in hell. As I spoke, I aimed the muzzle of my gun at Marcus. Marcus was startled and bewildered by my ruthlessness. Grace, you're insane. I'm Marcus. If you kill me, do you think you'll survive? I let out a cold laugh. If I, Grace, were afraid of death, I wouldn't have disguised myself as a man to join the organization with you back then. Hearing my words, Marcus paused for a moment, stunned. In that instant of his pause, I pulled the trigger. Marcus, look out. Just then, Khloe, who was in Marcus's arms, lunged forward, shielding him. The bullet buried itself deep in her back. Khloe! Marcus's anguished cry seemed to pierce through the roof. Khloe could no longer stand. She collapsed weakly into Marcus's arms. The second before she completely lost consciousness, Khloe lightly stroked Marcus's cheek. Marcus, you're safe. That's good. When looked up at me again, his eyes were filled with murderous intent. I had only ever seen that look in Marcus's eyes when he killed someone. Marcus's bodyguards also rushed into the room then, confronting mine. Marcus had no time to argue with me. He scooped up Khloe in his arms and headed for the door. Grace, the divorce you mentioned, I agree to it. As he passed the table, Marcus lifted a long leg and brutally kicked over the table, blocking his path. The small wooden keepsake box on the table tumbled to the floor, spilling bespoke facial cream everywhere. I stared intently at the bespoke facial cream scattered on the floor, he pristine white powder now stained with dust, just like the past 20 years Marcus and I had shared. I gritted my teeth, tears falling heavily to the ground. You didn't agree when I proposed divorce. Now, only your death will suffice. After that day, Marcus had me strictly confined to the villa. For 7 whole days, I saw no one except Alex. These past few days, I had been plagued by recurring dreams. In them, Marcus was still the teenager he had been. Grace, I waited all day at the Victoria today and finally managed to get a steamed bun. Eat quickly, it's still warm. I hear boxing pays well. I'm so strong, I'm sure I can earn money. Once I earn money, Grace, I'll never let you go hungry again. Grace, I want to marry you. In this life and all eternity, only you, Grace, will be my wife. Each time I woke, my chest felt heavy, as if a large stone was pressing down, making it hard to breathe. Marcus, how could you betray me like this? On the 7th day, I received an email in my inbox. It contained a video. In the video, Marcus swayed a glass of red wine in his hand, his eyes betraying a slight tipsiness. Khloe, you have no idea how grateful I am that you came into my life. As for Grace, if it weren't for the fact that she's only ever known me in her life, I would have divorced her long ago. Khloe, do you know? She's a whore ridden by 1,000 men, trampled by 10,000. Forget that she can't have children, even if she could, I'd find her disgusting. Marrying me was already more than she deserved. Besides the video, there were also several paragraphs of text sent by Khloe. Do you really think he changed his heart because of my appearance? His heart was never truly with you. Even without me, there would have been a song, a woo. That time 5 years ago, when you went alone to the Claw to rescue him, he already found you repulsive. If it weren't for the years of sentiment binding him, do you truly believe you would have held the position of Mrs. Marcus? Wake up, Grace. That man stopped loving you long ago. In his eyes, you're more disgusting than a stray dog on the street. What's more, you're a woman who can't bear children. What makes you think Marcus would ever only have you? Every word was a calculated blow to my heart. My hands trembled so violently I could barely hold my phone. 5 years ago, Marcus, then a minor leader in the organization, was kidnapped and vanished without a trace for a full day and night. In the middle of the night, I single-handedly broke into the Claw and, with all my might, rescued Marcus. The cost of that rescue was nearly half my life and the 4-month-old child in my womb. 5 full years passed, and no matter how I cared for myself, my womb remained barren. On the day of my miscarriage, Marcus, who had never shed a tear, had bloodshot eyes as he held me tightly in his arms. I, Marcus, will never fail Grace in this life. One sentence, and I believed him. But it turned out, in his mind, my ability to rescue him from the Claw was because I had sold my body. How utterly laughable. Seeing my state, Alex hesitated for a long moment before finally speaking. Madam, we received news that Mr. Marcus has booked the Victoria. Tomorrow, Mr. Marcus will announce Khloe's identity and give the child she's carrying its rightful place. The entire event will be conducted as a formal wedding. I sat numbly by the bed, unable to close my eyes all night. In the vast main hall of the Victoria, Khloe, clad in a pure white wedding gown, walked beamingly towards Marcus. I stormed into the main hall with dozens of bodyguards. My people each held handguns, and the crowd in the hall erupted in chaos. What's going on? Didn't Mr. Marcus say he was already divorced? Judging by this, definitely not. Otherwise, why would Mrs. Marcus look so ready to demand an explanation? But look at the harridan. No wonder Mr. Marcus wants to divorce her. I ignored the crowd's clamor. My eyes fixed on the couple who were about to be married today. Khloe quickly hid behind Marcus. Seeing the scene before her, she spoke with red-rimmed eyes. It seems sister still can't tolerate me. Marcus, maybe we should just call it off today. Marcus's face was contorted with fury, his eyes glaring at me as if he wanted to tear me apart. Grace, weren't you the one who wanted a divorce? Now, what exactly do you want? Clutching my handgun tightly, I approached Marcus step by step. The click of my heels on the tiled floor created an unnerving, chilling sound. I told you, I don't want a divorce now. I want you dead. Perhaps my appearance was too terrifying, for Marcus, who was usually fearless, had a flicker of fear in his eyes. Is this all for that worthless pearl from that day? We've been married for so many years, what rare treasures haven't you had? Why go to such lengths for one measly pearl? I scoffed but didn't reply, feeling as though the man before me had become a complete stranger. Worthless pearl? The image of the bespoke facial cream scattered across the floor that day flashed in my mind. Marcus had personally ground that pearl into powder. Then he had personally knocked the bespoke facial cream to the ground, allowing its pristine white powder to be stained with dust, forever unable to return to its original state. Just like our past 20 years. Marcus had personally destroyed our past, leaving it tainted with indelible stains. Now, the pearl was gone. What right did Marcus have to live? Seeing the undiminished murderous intent in my eyes, Marcus opened his mouth and yelled towards the door. Where are they? Where are my men? Get in here, all of you. As furious shouts subsided, a throng of bodyguards burst in from outside, creating a standoff with my own men. With his men present, Marcus's voice gained some confidence. Grace, as husband and wife, you know what my people represent, don't you? If you take your people and leave now, I can still pretend none of this happened today. Of course, I knew what Marcus's people represented. Over the years, he had successfully gone legitimate, transforming from a man involved in illegal activities into a top entrepreneur. But secretly, he was a man who played both sides, equally comfortable in the legal and illegal worlds. His people were far from just ordinary bodyguards. I stood motionless, a cold smile playing on my lips as I looked at Marcus. Seeing that I was unyielding, Marcus's brow furrowed in anger. Grace, with so many people here today, if you start something here, do you really think you'll leave alive? You should be very familiar with the combat capabilities of the people I've cultivated. I scoffed. Heh. Then would you like to see what I have? Soon, a chorus of gasps erupted in the main hall. Am I seeing things? Mrs. Marcus is holding the Andre family crest. My, that's a Chinese European family famous throughout Europe. How could Mrs. Marcus have their family crest? I heard the Andre family's subordinates are top mercenaries. Could these people Mrs. Marcus brought be them? A flicker of panic crossed Marcus's eyes, but he quickly regained his composure. Grace, do you even know who the Andre family are? How dare you forge their family crest? I think you truly have a death wish today. Khloe's voice chimed in opportunely. Who here hasn't met countless people? Do you really think a fake emblem can fool everyone? Everyone knows you and Mr. Marcus both came from an orphanage. How could you possibly have the Andre family crest? If the family crest in your hand were real, how could Mr. Marcus not know? At her words, everyone present looked suspicious. Seeing her objective achieved, a barely perceptible smile played on Khloe's lips. Mrs. Marcus, I never intended to disrupt your relationship with Mr. Marcus. Why do you keep being so aggressive? With what you're doing today, you've completely disgraced Mr. Marcus. Before could finish, I pulled the trigger. The bullet instantly buried itself deep in her shoulder. Khloe stared blankly, slowly lowering her head to look at her shoulder, seemingly shocked that I actually dared to attack her. I let out a cold laugh, simply watching her. Instantly, blood gushed out. Khloe swayed, her knees giving out as she fell backward. Marcus frantically caught her, his voice filled with terror. Khloe, don't sleep. Open your eyes and look at me. Khloe lay quietly in Marcus's arms, her brows tightly furrowed, unconscious moans escaping her lips. She couldn't utter another word. The ladies present covered their mouths and shrieked. Mrs. Marcus is utterly brutal. How could she harm someone in such a public setting? What's to be done? I heard Mrs. Marcus used to fight in the underworld. Dealing with someone like Khloe would surely be no problem for her. It was just women's jealousy, but now things have really escalated. Amidst the crowd's murmurs, Marcus's breathing grew heavier. When he looked up again, his eyes were bloodshot, and his voice was like that of a demon from hell. Move. Kill this bitch. Marcus's men stepped forward, ready to act, creating a standoff with my people. Marcus slowly stood up. His face and clothes were stained with Khloe's blood, making him look truly terrifying. Ever since I entered the business world, I haven't let you suffer a single day. I gave you everything good. You couldn't have children anymore, yet I still married you. I didn't betray you. Now is carrying my child, and all I wanted was to give her the dignity she deserved. Why do you keep pushing me? The further he spoke, the louder Marcus's voice became. From today onward, Grace and my Marcus will have no connection whatsoever. Someone, take her down. Whoever kills this bitch, I'll give them 5 million. Everyone turned to look at the entrance, following the sound. The next second, every face in the hall showed a look of stunned disbelief. Because the newcomer was none other than the current Mr. William of the Andre family. William. William ignored the crowd, walked directly to my side, his voice full of concern. I received your message a few days ago and immediately boarded a flight back home, without wasting a second. My child, are you hurt? I didn't speak, just shook my head in silence. Seeing I was fine, William looked up at Marcus, his expression instantly changing from concern to severity. Mr. Marcus? Can you please explain yourself? What has my daughter done wrong that you would want her dead? Marcus didn't answer William, but staggered back 2 steps, muttering continuously. Impossible, impossible, how could this be? Grace and I grew up together. If she were truly the daughter of the Andre family, how could I not know? William scoffed, his gaze at Marcus filled with displeasure. Impossible? What's impossible about it? If it weren't for Grace, do you really think, with all the things you did in your earlier years, you would have been able to go legitimate so quickly? Utterly preposterous. That year, I went alone to the Claw to rescue Marcus. As a dark handgun was pressed against my forehead, William, who was a guest at the Claw, saw me at a glance. He walked trembling to my side, and when he heard my mother's name, this man, naturally awe-inspiring, actually began to sob softly before me. It turned out that when William was not yet Mr. William of the Andre family, he had met a tea picker in Emerald. In just 1 month, they fell in love. The night before he left South, she gave herself to him, and he promised he would return for her. From that one night, my mother conceived me. But by the time he ascended to the position of Mr. William and sent people back to Emerald, all he received was news of my mother's death. He didn't know I existed and had never searched for me. But because of my striking resemblance to my mother, he recognized me at a glance. Liam wanted to restore my identity and compensate me for the hardships I had endured for over 20 years. But I simply shook my head. I thought I had no relatives left in this world. To meet you today is a blessing beyond measure. If William truly wishes to compensate me, then please, Mr. William, help my fiancé. And so, Marcus, at just 25 years old, successfully made his mark in the Riverton business world. After that, in just 5 years, he enabled the Marcus to dominate Riverton. William respected my wishes, but he still felt deeply guilty towards me, and so he bestowed upon me the Andre family crest. He told me, at any time, the family crest would ensure my safety. I stepped forward, my gaze cold as I looked at the disbelieving Marcus. Marcus, now, do you have anything else to say? Before could speak, Khloe, who had just been lying on the ground, seemingly at death's door, suddenly sprang to life. She crawled to me on all fours, kowtowing repeatedly. Mr. William, Ms. Grace, I didn't mean to, I really didn't mean to. He forced me. He saw that I was pretty and forced me to obey him. He's Mr. Marcus. How could I dare resist? Please, spare me, spare me. I lowered my eyes, looking at Khloe, who was kowtowing frantically. Is that so? Hearing my rhetorical question, Khloe seemed to see a glimmer of hope. Yes, 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 how could I dare deceive Ms. Grace? Every word I said is true, please, let me go. Before she could finish, I aimed my gun at her once more. This time, it was at her chest. Khloe's eyes widened in shock, and she collapsed heavily to the ground as if she couldn't die in peace. She made no sound. I glanced at Marcus, whose face was utterly blank. You did all this for a woman like her? Marcus, Marcus, you truly are blind. Epilogue. Marcus seemed unable to bear it any longer, his knees buckled, and he fell to his knees before me. Grace, seeing like this, I felt no satisfaction. Only endless sorrow. Marcus, even to this day. You are the only man I have ever been with. I have never been defiled. Marcus looked up in disbelief, his voice trembling uncontrollably. How could that be? I gave a bitter laugh. All these years, you cared about this so much, yet why did you never once think to ask me? Marcus's eyes also reddened. You saved my life, and we even lost a child because of it. I didn't dare mention it. How could I dare? Marcus's tears streamed down his face. Grace, I was wrong, truly wrong. If I had known you weren't harmed, I never would have treated you like this. I just couldn't get past that hurdle in my heart. Believe me, I sharply interrupted Marcus. Shut up. Even if you knew I hadn't been harmed, you would have found another excuse to bring Khloe back anyway. After all these years, I haven't given you a single child, have I? Marcus, admit it, you're a miserable excuse for a man. My own tears started to fall. Before it could fully drop, I raised my hand and lightly wiped it away. Just as I admit, I loved the wrong person. Marcus's body began to tremble uncontrollably. Grace, please forgive me this one time. I was foolish, so foolish. I promise I'll treat you well from now on. I'll never let you down again. Even if we don't have children, it doesn't matter. I'll only stay with you, and we'll live our lives well together. This time, before I could even speak, William roared. What right do you have to speak? If it weren't for Grace, what qualification would you have to be the so-called Mr. Marcus? My daughter, William's daughter, could have any man she wants. As long as I'm alive, no one will ever bully her. Marcus sank to his knees, utterly defeated, unable to utter another word. I slowly knelt down, bringing my gaze level with Marcus's. Marcus, do you know what hurts me the most? Marcus looked at me, his eyes filled with doubt and fear. And also, hope. I gently caressed his cheek, my voice filled with endless affection. You personally killed my Marcus. The Who personally pulled me out of hell. The Who, even after being humiliated at the Victoria, still brought me a steamed bun. The Who, to ensure I had enough to eat, went alone to the underground fighting ring. The Who stood before me and said I was the only one for him, in this life and the next. Not this heartless beast standing before me. Marcus understood my words, his face instantly turned ashen. I slowly stood up. If my Marcus knew how you've treated me today, he would never let you get away with it. As my words finished, a bullet simultaneously entered his forehead. Marcus didn't struggle at all, a faint smile of relief even played on his lips. The blood that gushed from him stained my skirt. You killed my Marcus. So you will atone with your death. Having said that, I didn't spare him another glance, turning to walk out the door. I'm sorry. My steps faltered for a moment, but I didn't turn back. A pearl tarnished, love and hate intertwined, a relentless, unending struggle. Marcus. Never again. Thank you for watching today's story. If you enjoyed this video, please like it and share it with your friends. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments section. Feel free to share your opinions, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more exciting stories. See you next time.